5 Games for
Essen 2022.
Oh, nearly here, Stevie. It's nearly here. Spiel 2022.
Oh, it's that time of year again, isn't it?
It is. So
The leaves start to fall.
Yep.
The sky is moist with anticipation.
That's how you describe skies. That's a word you can use to describe skies.
It was pretty moist today, wasn't it?
I was inside doing a play, so I don't know.
I'm trying to explore the boundaries of metaphor here.
It's great. Moist. That's a good word for the sky, isn't
Well,
it?
what's your fucking sky word?
Do you know what I hate?
Everything?
Like British Bake Off, right? You know, I love British Bake Off, but they'll have like a cake, and they'll go, "Ooh, that's really
Tight.
tender."
Tight. No, they'll complain when the cake is too tight. Or no, the bread.
Tight is okay.
No,
as a
bread.
descriptor.
The bread's not supposed to be tight.
But tender is not a word you should use for describing cake, is it? Tender is only meat, isn't it?
What would you use?
Moist might be a word I might use for cake.
You can use moist with cake, but like instead of tender, soft?
Soft, crumbly, pillowy.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Not tender. That's steak. Steak's tender, isn't it?
So I'm thinking about the sort of autumn sky when it's always raining and the ground is wet.
Yeah.
And, the sky is moist.
The sky is moist. That's the word you use to describe the sky. Moist.
Well, why don't you come up with a creative way of
Come
describing
on,
the
give
sky?
us a couplet. Give us a couplet with that as the descriptor.
Okay, the beautiful autumn sky is moist, and you're a fucking asshole. Boist.
Your personality...
Upon thine own petard shalt thou be... No.
Thy personality upon me, you foist.
I was trying to go for a hoist.
My eyes are as wet as the sky is moist. There you go. That's why I'm a creative dynamo.
Anyway, the sky is moist with anticipation.
So what does the moistness of the sky evoke in you around about this time of year, Steve?
It evokes...
Mid to late September.
It means that the glorious 2 weeks of Berlin summer are drawing to a close.
Yeah, and we all know with global warming that's not the case. This summer was unbearably hot, but carry on.
Yeah, it started in March.
We're not doing hot weather fucking chat. We're not doing hot weather chat on this podcast.
What do you mean?
You're going to go on about hot weather chat. I don't want to talk about the weather.
Go on about hot weather chat? Why would I talk about hot weather?
Well, you just said the 2 weeks of Berlin summer, and you were about to just go off on, oh no, actually, no weather chat.
No, I was about to say that we're about to enter the 27 months of Berlin winter.
Is this a meteorological podcast?
Could be.
Should we change direction?
Maybe we'd get more listeners.
Do you reckon we should just change direction and make it a meteorological podcast?
Why don't we just talk about... Everyone likes talking about the weather.
I tell you what, though, I was walking down the street, anti-symptom cumulus today. Cocky now.
How often do you meet people like just out in the world who enjoy talking about board games?
Well, out in the world. I mean, my world is kind of nerds.
No, not people that you know. Just like, random encounters.
Never.
Yeah, how often do you randomly encounter people who enjoy talking about the weather?
Oh, do they enjoy talking about the weather, or are they talking about the weather to get over their crippling nervousness at having met a rando?
I don't know the rationale, but they do it.
There's these memes going round at the moment, going, Gah! I think it's supposed to make you sound like an exciting person. God, I hate small talk. Let's just, get to the interesting chat. And it's like...
It's a meme?
Yeah, it's like a meme. You know those... You'll have, a picture of Christian Bale, in black and white, and then something written over the top.
I bet you Christian Bale doesn't like small talk.
But how do you function without small talk? Small talk is the engine of human relationships.
You cut to the chase.
I mean, even, when someone you know very well... if we meet...
tell it like it is.
If we meet, right?
Yeah.
Do you just come up to me and just, without any preamble, just go, oh, the political state of monkeys in Fishtown? Or do you go, how's it going? Sound. You? Sound. The political state of monkeys in Fishtown. You know what I mean? You've got to have small talk. Small talk is the engine of human relationships.
Well, my understanding is that the British talk about the weather more than anybody else. Mm-hmm. And talking about the weather is like some kind of coded way of talking about everything else without talking about it.
Yes. The weather is particularly tumescent today.
It's some kind of encoded passive aggressive repartee that you have.
The weather is really having an erection today.
Yeah, for example. So what would that mean if you said that?
Ooh, look at how stiff the weather is today.
Yeah.
That's because I'm talking about having an erection, but secretly, very subtly
Seriously, though,
coding it.
Is this not a thing?
No.
You've been away from your country for too long. You're barely a British person.
You meet a person, and you can't just go up to them and go, "Oh, hello, you look ill," or "Wow,
you look tired."
you've got to go up to. Most of the time, you meet people, and conversations are pleasant, but they're usually small talk. They're usually superficial.
I don't meet people.
No, well, you're an otaku, aren't you? Yeah. Anyway, so we're going off topic. You pull me off topic all the time.
The point is, we're about to start the season during which you sit down with your friends in warm, cozy rooms.
Really fucking get to the point, Christ. Talk for 20
and
minutes. You don't even go to the point.
You play
God.
board games.
That's true.
And the opening of that grand pageantry.
That's interesting. That's an interesting interpretation.
What?
That Essen is the opening of board game season.
That's how I've always looked at it.
It's like the opening of hunting season.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, it is hunting season for me.
Hunting for
more shit to own.
Yeah, and then refuse to sell.
Exactly, yeah. I can't part with anything.
So for the listeners, there's an Essen no shipping auction list where you put up games for sale and people bid on them.
I can't be bothered.
I've already put some games up. And Steve is doing this nonchalant thing. I can't be bothered. I just can't, I can't. What it is because he's a hopeless hoarder and he's scared to death of selling one of his games.
You've got to like arrange to meet people. You're going to be running around Essen with games that you're just trying to unload, like having to make it to appointments on time. It's going to be a pain. I don't want to do it.
You could make loads of juicy cash, though.
Do you think people would actually buy my games just for the chance to meet me?
Yeah, exactly.
Could I charge more?
Yeah.
Well, then
like
an
admission fee. Like you should go around. You should have some 10x8s with you.
10. Yeah, we say 8x10 in America.
Oh dear, we say 10x8s.
You do everything backwards, don't you?
We do everything correctly.
You drive on the left side of the road.
Did you see that?
You leave the European Union.
Did you see that? Did you see that?
You do the opposite what everybody else does.
So Jacob Rees-Mogg in the summer did a survey about the reintroduction of imperial measurements, and he wanted it to be a fair, unbiased questionnaire as to whether England would want imperial measurements returned. Right?
Yeah.
Do you know what the two questions were?
What?
Would you like to have imperial measurements back? Mm-hmm. Would you like to have imperial measurements back? Also with grams on the package. No, would you not like to have imperial measurements back?
Yeah, it seems like railroading a little bit.
Yeah, so 100% of people voted for imperial measurement. God, I hate Jacob Rees-Mogg. Anyway, so what are we here for? What are we here? I mean, it's going to be in the title of the podcast, but, what is this podcast about?
Essen being the opening of board game season, we have to tell the listeners... because this is what everybody else does.
How dare you? This is a highly original concept. Sorry.
What our picks are for the show. Which board games are we most looking forward to encountering? Discovering?
Buying?
Probably not playing.
Well, playing once.
Maybe.
Probably.
Maybe. Who knows when, though?
Yes. So
I've got some games from 2017 Essen still in the shrink wrap,
So I'm sure there's lots of people who listen to this show.
Lots.
I mean, this self-deprecation thing is all right, but not when you're talking about my fucking podcast, right? So, explain to the listeners kind of what Essen is for you as an event.
I think I've talked about this before. That Essen, I don't know, in a way, it kind of like makes you feel seen as a member of this hobby. I think we've gotten to a point in the board game industry. Or in the hobby, whatever, where you don't have to feel embarrassed to be interested in board games, right? I think there was a time where if you played board games, it was a little bit weird. 20 years ago, if you told people you play board games, they'd be like, who doesn't play board games? Everybody plays Monopoly, right?
Right.
But no, that's not what I mean. I play like weird, nerdy board games that if I explained them to you, you probably wouldn't want to talk to me anymore.
Exactly.
I think it's really become quite mainstream, maybe in the same way that a lot of quote-unquote nerdy things
geek things have become very mainstream, haven't they?
Yeah, but I've also become middle-aged. I just don't care what people think anymore.
You know, that's a fascinating thing, isn't it? Because that's certainly the case with me to a large degree, that I just don't care anymore. And what I found is...
I mean, cool young people still kind of turn their nose up at it, but fuck them.
But you know what's really interesting about being cool that I've realised?
It's not worth anything?
Well, it's not. The coolest people are the people who... Being cool essentially means just not giving a fuck, essentially.
You're not into anything if you're cool, right?
Just being yourself, sort of without, trying to project an image. And the thing is, if you're just like, oh yeah, no, this is what I do, it's sound. Mm-hmm. People go, oh, okay, fair enough. They might not understand it, but they go, oh, okay, fair enough. You've got an air of self-possession, which is cool.
So this is an argument to say that it's okay to like board games.
Of course it is.
It's cool. We're cool.
And don't be pissed off about it, and don't be, sort of nervous about it. Just people say, what you do, this is my thing.
We're cool.
I mean, I'm cool. I'm cool.
Me
Do
too,
you
right?
think if I did a Twitter poll,
yeah,
saying who's the coolest, Ben or Steve, who'd win the Twitter poll?
I think you'd get like 2 comments, one from Uli making fun of us, and no likes.
Yeah, but no, Twitter poll, people just vote, don't they?
No, but I'm saying that would be it.
So I wouldn't get any votes.
Now you get 0 votes. Dan Hughes would vote me.
So anyway, what for you is Essen?
Yeah, so this thing about like being seen, right? You're reminded when you go to Essen just how big this hobby is, just how many of us there are, and how much of a presence it has in the world. And yet at the same time, it's still kind of small. It's still a bit of a village. It's nothing compared to like book publishing. It's nothing compared to the video game industry.
Right.
It's nothing compared to like the larger like toy industry.
Right.
It's still quite niche, very tight-knit in the publishing sense in many ways from what I've seen. But you get to experience like the biggest splash out moment of the year for this thing that we love so much. And everybody there is exactly like you are, and you get to meet the people that make it happen, that publish the games, that create the games. A lot of like the super fans who are willing to go to Essen, Germany for any reason whatsoever.
Right.
You have to really be into something to go to Essen. So yeah, I know. But I talk about how there's not really a board game community, but if there is, you kind of feel it when you're there.
So
maybe I'm going overboard though. There is also like a large like day tripping family component to Essen too.
So Essen's fascinating because it sort of games are more embedded in the German culture than they are in other cultures. So you do have a lot of families. The thing about Essen for me is that board games are my first hobby as an adult. I never had hobbies as an adult before. Like as a kid, sure, but never as an adult.
What about drinking?
I don't consider that a hobby. I consider that a crippling addiction.
Funny story. When I was in Japan, I was teaching English.
Did you get all choked up then? Were you just about to like, cry? No. When I was in Japan.
Can't let anything go, can you? Can't let anything go. When I was teaching English in Japan, I was introducing myself to all of the other teachers, the Japanese teachers of English.
Yeah.
These like old Japanese guys who teach English in the high school there. And this thing in Japan where you introduce yourself and like, what is your name? What is your hobby? This kind of thing. And Nakamura Sensei introduced himself. I am Nakamura Sensei. My hobby is drinking. That's what he did with that laugh.
What was your hobby?
I think I said Aikido, but it was just funny to me that this was a professional setting. And in like a professional meeting where you're getting to know your colleagues for the first time, they make a joke about how they're an alcoholic.
Did you ever go drinking with Nakamura Sensei?
Like once.
Was it horrendous? Did he start like crying?
No.
And complaining about his life?
No, not at all.
The children, Steve, they hate me.
No.
They laugh behind my back.
Nope.
No?
Nope, never let his guard down.
Anyway, so Essen, for me, is... So it's my first adult hobby, and you've got this theory, it's your pet theory, and I think it's largely bollocks, that there's no board game community. And there's this...
It's not a theory, it's an observation.
There's an absolute board game community. And Essen makes you feel at the centre of it.
I just think there are some people who know each other.
there is a shared interest, there is a shared enthusiasm, and Essen is the place where you realise it truly exists. And it is just a wonderful place to go and meet new people and old people and immerse yourself in something. And while it's absolutely exhausting and it's absolutely draining, and I don't take care of myself while I'm there.
And you always get sick when you go.
And I always get sick and all of that sort of stuff. But still, at the same time, I always come away feeling invigorated. And as you say, so you'll so rightfully observe, it is the opening to the board game season. And it sets you up with a whole truckload of games to play over the winter. I can't think of a more perfect way. Now,
it's like board game Christmas in a way.
Right.
It's like Christmas in October, and then you get to have Christmas again.
Exactly. I was speaking to Keith Matejka, designer of Role Player, the other night. I was interviewing him.
Look at me, who I know. I know everybody in board. Sorry.
And we were just talking, and he was talking about Essen and Gen Con, and he said he preferred Gen Con because Gen Con has more of a community feel. But the thing is, Essen for me has a huge community feel. It's just a different thing. Essen feels like...
Does Gen Con have gaming?
Yeah, Gen Con.
Maybe that's why.
Gen Con is more of a convention more than a fair.
Yeah, that's probably why then.
But Essen for me feels like a film festival. Mm-hmm. In the sense that a film festival is kind of spread all over the city. When the fair shuts down at Essen, the convention goes on. It just doesn't go on in the convention centre. Mm-hmm. You go to the Irish pub or the restaurants and all of this, or the hotels, and you can always find a place to go and socialise and get to know people and have fun. And
yeah, it's a bit of a scene.
Essen is not about gaming for me. Essen is about meeting people and getting out there. And there is no better way to meet people than to have a microphone.
Yeah, and I guess that's much more for you than for me. I think for me it's always been, well, to some extent, a shopping experience, which is just like drowning myself in this thing, this hobby, like drowning myself in meeples and cardboard and just discovering all kinds of new things, new ideas, new games, things I'd never heard of, things I'd never seen. Looking around the used games to see if there's some gem from 1986 that I can pick up. All that kind of thing. I love the indie publishers. I never find out about their games in advance. I have to find out about them right there and then, and if I don't buy it right there and then, I'm probably never going to have another chance.
Right.
That kind of thing.
And this year is going to be particularly interesting because it's the first proper Essen since COVID, right?
Yeah, also the first year that Essen isn't fully owned by its founders anymore.
Yeah, exactly.
So we're wondering if there are going to be changes.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting. Well, there are changes already.
Salient changes.
There are salient changes already.
What are they?
They're not sending us our press passes by mail anymore.
Oh, we got a PDF, didn't we?
They send them electronically. Unbelievable. So, I mean, that's amazing.
2022.
2022. Anyway, so on that subject about discovering, the reason we're actually here is the top 5 games of Essen that you're looking forward to enjoying. That was a good sentence, isn't it?
Yeah. You want to try that again?
All right. You're a twat. All right, so there's going to be a sting here, a musical sting. So I hope you enjoy it.
Honourable Mentions.
All right, Stevie, so honourable mentions. Give us an honourable mention that you're looking forward to at Essen Spiel 22.
Okay, honourable mentions. I'm going to start with a game that I think I discovered it on Board Game Geek kind of at random.
Okay.
And it's got an interesting premise, right? It's set 5,000 years after the fall of humankind.
Okay.
It's got a hexagon board.
Yeah.
And it's got this kind of like post-apocalyptic thing where you're like rebuilding civilization. It's called Revive.
Why are you a nonce for hexagons?
Well, I mean, they really like what do you call it?
Tile the plane.
Tile. That's what I'm looking for. They really tile a plane.
I mean, how
really
often,
well.
How often are you tiling the plane?
I tile a plane at least 5 times before breakfast. No, the thing is, I played in my imagination D&D when I was a kid because I really never played D&D when I was a kid.
Right.
But I like bought the books and I read them and I was into the maps and a lot of the maps are on hex.
Hexes.
Yeah, because old war games are on. They're all hex maps, and I would buy like hex graph paper, and I'd draw my own maps, and I think it just like lodged into my memory, like the hexagons. And
I'm the one who's bloody single. Go figure. All right, anyway, so your first one.
So yeah, Revive. This is a game designed by, I didn't actually write down the designers, but it's a bunch of Norwegians.
Yeah.
So it's a game from...
Has he got those O's with the lines through?
I guess so, it must, right? Maybe some dots on the vowels.
They don't have umlauts in Norwegian, do they? I think it's just...
Is it only lines? They don't...
No, because
Oh no, Finland, they have dots.
which was like O, in German with the umlaut. That's the line through the O.
Yeah, I mean, I think the Norwegian word for beer is like the English word ale.
Öl, yeah.
Öl.
It's pronounced Öl.
Yeah, like ale. It's got to be the same word.
Yeah, but it's Öl, which is interesting because it looks like oil, and it's probably the same price as bloody petrol currently. Curse the government.
You're gonna have a couple Öls at Essen?
I'm having an Earl right now. Duke of Earl.
All right, so my first honorable mention is Revive.
Yes, and mine is a game by your friend, your best mate.
Who's that?
Matthias Kramer.
Oh, is it Weimar?
No. Designers of Lancaster and Kraftwagen.
And
loads of other stuff. And...
Watergate?
Yeah, Watergate. And Swindlers.
Ah, Swindlers. I saw this one. Tell me about it.
So Swindlers is a push your luck game.
It's a little game, right?
Yeah, and it's by a Berlin publisher, which is nice. Edition Spiel.
Yeah.
And it's Matthias Kramer. Matthias is a great game designer. His games are always good. He's always solid.
Yeah, I saw it on Tabletop Thingy today.
Yeah. And I feel, what's fascinating is I feel more and more, I think it's probably post-COVID, wanting to get back out into the world. And I find playing in rooms full of people, I find playing heavy games, hard work, in rooms full of people when there's lots of ambient noise. So I find myself very attracted to light games at the moment. And Swindlers seems like a fun, push your luck, light game. I love push your luck as a mechanism.
Yeah, I mean, you play it every day.
Well, exactly. And so it's tense, and I don't know much about it, but it looks beautiful, and it's Matthias Kramer, so I think it's going to be greatness.
I like Matthias Kramer as a person and as a designer.
Yes.
All right, so that's...
Your second honorable mention.
Yeah, that's your... So, what is it called again?
Swindlers.
Swindlers, okay. Had Revive, Swindlers...
Interesting fact, you know what German for swindle is?
What?
Schwindel.
Schwindel?
Yeah.
Same word.
Same word.
So did the English one come from the German, or did the German...
What do you bloody think?
Import it into...
What do you bloody think?
You think the English invented it and the Germans
Absolutely not, no.
Do they swindle in Germany?
I'm sure it has happened.
I don't think swindling is a thing here.
Not anymore.
They're
but I'm
very
sure it's
honest
happened.
people.
Yeah, they are, by and large, but you know.
But probably when they go on holiday to the UK and come back, they have to have a word...
Ich war geschwindelt.
Yeah, they to talk about what happened.
Dieser scheiß Engländer hat mich geschwindelt.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, number 2, honorable mention. A couple of years ago, I went to Essen just about as excited to buy a game as I have ever been. And
which one was it?
Then we played it,
yeah.
And I was more disappointed than I had ever been.
Oh, right.
So I think you know what game I'm talking about.
Oh, yes, I do. Absolutely. Yes.
Orleans Stories. And by the way, they're coming out with like an expansion to Orleans Stories with more stories. Unfortunately,
I ain't buying that.
The first 3 left me a little cold, let's say. I warmed myself by setting the box on fire.
Indeed.
But
did you end up selling that in the end?
I traded it for Shogun.
Wow. And we haven't played Shogun yet. That's insane. Shogun's amazing.
To fellow board game podcasting media magnate Lorenzo.
Yeah.
Natali?
Maybe.
Plug. Okay. So this Essen, they're coming out with another entry in the Orleans series. This is Joan of Arc, Orleans Draw and Write. I don't know how I feel about the whole draw and write explosion. They're okay. I like Cartographers.
Cartographers is great, and I think
pretty good.
That's about it, really.
I don't feel like close to any of the other ones, but this one I think I might be willing to give a shot. I think I need to give, is it Rainer Stockhausen?
Yep.
I got to give him another chance because Orleans is just so good.
Orleans great. Altiplano is good.
It's a classic, and you know.
You can't condemn someone for fucking up once.
I mean, I can at least demo it.
Otherwise, I'd be hugely condemned.
Exactly. This is empathy.
Right, exactly.
So this is my number 2 honorable mention, Joan of Arc, Orleans, draw and write.
So my second honourable mention is twofold, the reason I chose it. Firstly...
Twofold? That's kind of an odd name for a game.
No, it's not the name of the game.
Oh,
the reasons are twofold.
Oh, you have 2 reasons. I get it.
Yes.
Okay.
I was trying to sound a little eloquent rather than just, prosaic. Anyway, so...
I'm getting a game called Mosaic. It's a civilization game.
I tell you, your creative overlapping is really not fucking annoying. I love the way I can never get to the end of a fucking sentence.
You get it, like mosaic and prosaic?
Yeah, I get it.
Sounds the same.
Rhymes, yeah. It's called rhyming, Steve.
Yeah, exactly.
You almost have got a PhD in English literature. I think you should know the word rhyming.
Prosaic, mosaic.
Do you know the word spondy?
Yes.
Hey, that was a very good... For any English literature people out there, that was a quality gag. Anyway, so, twofold. One, the publisher. I'm always interested in the publisher's games. And secondly, the genre. I'm always interested in the genre. Mm-hmm. So the publisher is Matago, and they've published some of my favourite games. Kemet, which is wonderful. Inish, which is also wonderful.
I still haven't played Inish.
Oh, well, we'll play it.
It's a crime.
When I get out of the theatre, when I get out of the play, we'll play it at our weekly game night. Anyway, so I've painted all my bits in Inish as well.
Nice.
Anyway, so, and also I love, because it evokes my childhood around the scabby old Formica kitchen table. Trick-taking. It's wonderful. And this one is a trick-taker by Matago, and this is called St. Patrick.
St. Patrick?
St. Patrick. Yeah.
Like St. Patrick.
Yeah, St. Patrick.
St. Patrick.
St. Patrick.
St. Patrick.
Yeah, but you don't say saint, you say St.
The guy who drove the rats out of Ireland or something.
Snakes out of Ireland. He was Welsh. And he went over there and he drove them out of Ireland. And so this is a game, it's a trick-taking game.
Do you think that actually happened?
Absolutely not, no.
I don't think it really happened.
Well, that Jeebus bloke, I don't think that happened either.
I think it's a Just So story, you know?
Yeah, exactly. Anyway, so this one is a new take on the St. Patrick myth, which I thought was quite funny. So you're playing trick-taking games and you win by surviving the most snake bites. So what they don't mention in the St. Patrick story is him having to fend off the snakes biting him.
Oh man, when I went to the UK in 1999 and I had a snake bite for the first time, was it like, it's like beer and...
Cider and lager.
Yeah. The mix of them, right? But they're red.
With blackcurrant in it.
Right.
Snake bite.
I thought it was cranberry juice.
No, it's blackcurrant. Snake bite and black.
It was very red, though. I remember that.
Yeah, snake bite and black.
Because
goths drink it.
I was with someone who like drank way too many of them and ended up throwing up, and like they threw up red everywhere.
Yeah, so
like
they were internally bleeding.
Yeah. Man, I don't think I want to try to survive snake bites.
A red witch is a good cocktail as well.
What's that?
That's a Pernod and black. You know Pernod? Mm-hmm. Pernod and black in a pint of cider.
Disgusting.
Wow, what a drink that is, love, I tell you. Anyway, so yeah, it's a trick-taking game in which you're trying to... You've got 20 starting life points, and you're trying not to get bitten by snakes, and I assume that's by winning tricks and that. And I just love trick-taking games. I love the value for money of a trick-taking game.
I'll always give a trick-taking game a chance.
Well, because, what I say, the VFM for a trick-taking game is wonderful, right? Because the basic concept... Everyone knows. So everyone knows trick-taking games. And the sort of general, you have to follow the suit and all of that sort of stuff. And so you're all, even if it's a brand new game, you're only essentially explaining like 2 or 3 rules, which are the little twists in the trick-taking concept. So they're always great fun. And, you know, my second favourite game in the world is a trick-taking game. And, you know... They evoke a lot of memories for me, and this might be interesting.
I mean, I cannot argue with maximizing VFM, especially at Essen. Most games these days, especially Kickstarter games...
When I say VFM, I mean time as a currency.
But like for real though, like most games these days, especially Kickstarters, low VFM.
Low VFM.
Right, you're paying a lot of M, you're not getting a whole lot of V.
Right. You're
getting a lot of plastic and huge boxes that you have no room for. A little game in a little box... with a familiar concept that you can have fun with for like 5 to 8 people. It's brilliant.
Well, this is the point, right? A good Euro game that you're going to play 5 or 6 times and get bored of. In the Alea model, where you're paying 30, 40 quid, that's sound. In the Eagle Griffin model, where you're paying 150 fucking quid for an average Euro game, which most of them are, most of these big Kickstarters, it's a bit rough. Anyway, your third.
So, what do I like more than anything else in the world?
Putting me down?
Well, idiosyncratic British people.
Pedantry.
Idiosyncratic British people.
Napping.
There is no island in the world that has a greater concentration
Hypocrisy.
of eccentrics and weirdos.
Okay.
You gave me an example the other day, actually.
What was that?
What happens when the king visits the House of Lords?
Oh, yes. So when the king, the king now,
Yeah,
opens Parliament, he can't go into the House of Commons because of the Civil War.
the monarch.
The monarch,
Yeah.
So they have to go to the House of Lords to open Parliament, right? Mm-hmm. But because of the Civil War, and there was a fear that the monarch would be murdered if they entered Parliament's realm, the 4th most senior person in the whip's office is taken hostage by the palace and kept at the palace until the king is returned. And that still happens to this day.
Now, and I think they have to send an emissary named Black Rod to the House of Commons to indicate to the House of Commons that they are ready, that the king is ready to receive them in the House of Lords for the opening of Parliament.
Right.
And what they do is, as Black Rod arrives to the House of Commons, they slam the door in his face.
Yep, sure.
Because Black Rod represents Charles I storming into the House of Commons.
Right.
I guess he did that, and he's the last monarch to ever enter the House of Commons. Like,
Right.
The monarch's not allowed in there.
No,
right?
fucking right.
So then he knocks, 3 times.
Yeah.
And on the 3rd time, they actually let him in. He announces that the monarch is in the House of Lords ready, and all the MPs go in and whatever it is that they do.
No.
Whatever irrelevant thing it is that they do in there.
I mean, I'm becoming more and more irrelevant by the day, Steve.
I went to University College London for a semester.
Yeah.
And
I fucking heard about it as well.
Jeremy Bentham, the founder of UCL, actually decided in his will that he wanted his body displayed in a glass cabinet in the lobby of the main building, and he is. Except
Sure.
the head is fake because apparently the kids kept stealing it and playing football with it. He is noted down as present but not voting at every meeting of the Board of Trustees.
Britain's great.
I love this country. It's
great.
I love it. I love it.
So this fucking lengthy digression leads us where?
Leads me to a cute little game that I randomly stumbled on, Village Rails. The slogan is locomotives and local motives.
Yeah, that's Matthew Dunstan and Brett Gilbert, isn't it?
Yes, it is.
Both former guests.
It looks very, very cute. It's about building trains, but also somehow negotiating with wily ex-urban Brits to allow you to do it. I'm sure it's going to be hilarious.
I haven't played the original game, Village Green, but it is... So
I've heard good things about Village Green.
Yeah, Tony Boydell is also designing a game...
You mean the doyen of British gaming?
I do. And he's designing a game on a similar theme called Jerusalem. And basically it is a game of pedantic, suburban British people complaining about people encroaching on their property lines and all that sort of stuff. I'm sure it's very funny, very British. And this seems the same.
Yeah, I'm quite looking forward not only to this game, but also to seeing Tony Boydell at Essen. Do you think he's going to bring his copy of Glory to Rome with him for me?
Yeah, I mean, I'm pretty sure he's going to give you his copy of Glory to Rome. Because the last time we were talking about it on a show, he sent me a Facebook message and he said, "No fucking way," was the exact quote.
Game on.
All right, so my last one is... This is a game... So this is a German game, but it seems to have sort of a wittiness to it. I mean, far be it from me to make assertions about the German people, but...
I'm sort of furrowing my brow at that notion.
Yes, this is a game by Hoch Spiele, and this is called Planet B.
Oh, yeah.
And I'm fascinated consistently by the preponderance. This started...
It's like Plan B, but a planet.
Exactly. It's like that famous phrase, "There is no Planet B."
Yep.
And so the preponderance, it started 6 or 7 years ago that you would get occasional environmental themes. And as the world continues to burn, more and more games have environmental themes. But I think this has got a bit of
So do you think in 20 years we're going to have like more zombie games?
Yeah, exactly. We're going to have it's going to be all zombie and fucking pandemic games. So this is a pleasantly cynical game. So what's happened, we've destroyed Earth and we found another habitable planet, and we've gone to this planet and we play corrupt governors who are trying to make deals with corporations to essentially fuck up our second planet.
Makes sense.
And I think... Now, this is a bugbear of mine, and it has been for ages. So I have this theory that the more expensive education gets, the worse art becomes.
The more expensive education gets in society?
Yes, the worse art becomes.
Well, in Germany, it's free.
So, but the reason being, right, is that if you're a working class kid, so in England, if you're a working class kid, you're probably going to need to go to university to get a decent job. Mm-hmm. But you're not. If you're going to come out with 50 grand's worth of debt at the end of it, you're going to get a degree that ensures you get a decent job. So you're not going to go into the arts, you're not going to go into creative fields, you're going to do an MBA or whatever.
You know, I read that the Queen didn't go to university and she got a great job.
That's very true. So what happens is things like the arts, the creative fields, end up being populated by people who are rich enough to do them and essentially don't know the meaning of struggle. And so they all become very fucking bland. And what we have seen, and especially in board gaming, the influx of new people and especially new creatives into board games, are most of them by and large a part of the petty bourgeois. And one thing you can count on the petty bourgeois to be is scared to death of putting their neck out and saying anything that may be a faux pas. Mm-hmm. And so what you have, it's no coincidence that there's a preponderance of cat-themed games and a preponderance of flower-themed games. Things that are utterly inoffensive.
Safe.
Because etiquette is so important to the middle classes, and they absolutely detest the idea of being seen to cause offence because it then harms their social capital. So everything becomes very bland. So this is nice to see, and this is a German game, it is nice to see a bit of cynicism, a bit of bite, and a bit of humour. Because I fundamentally believe games are a mechanical art form, so the theme isn't massively important. But at the same time, I do lament the destruction of comedy, because I was talking to you yesterday about how I don't like Ted Lasso. And the reason I don't like Ted Lasso
is because you have no soul.
Is because I believe comedy is an art form born out of cruelty, not born out of compassion. The funniest comedies punish their characters. Spinal Tap is a great example. Arrested Development is a great example. Blackadder is a great example. Comedy is an art form that is nasty. Whereas Ted Lasso is born out of the kind of most milquetoast, lily-livered, bullshit, fake, demonstrative compassion you can imagine. So it's fundamentally, it's all soul, and therefore it has no soul. So the reason this appeals to me is because it's the idea, we've ruined this planet, we've found a perfect new Eden, and we're going to fuck this one up too because human beings are shite. And I think that's funny. That's a funny concept. And I don't know what the game is mechanically, but that's an amusing concept. No?
I think we should do a Ted Lasso podcast.
Nummer 5.
All right, Stevie, what's your number 5, baby?
Number 5 is a game by Ross Arnold and Vladimir Suchi.
Oh, yes, a classic.
Woodcraft.
Yeah.
And here's what I know about this game. Gather wood and craft goods. Buy different types of wood.
Yeah.
Do this as efficiently as possible. That's what I read about this game.
Sounds amazing.
It should be my number 1. I mean, this is literally everything I like about games. Crafting, buying wood, being efficient.
Yeah.
So this is a dice crafting game. And I don't really know what that means. I think you roll dice and then craft them somehow. And
You probably change the faces to some description, mitigate chance and all of that gubbins.
you build things with different combinations of dice. Whatever. This is from the designer of Praga Caput Regni, Messina 1347.
Yep.
Underwater Cities, Last Will.
Yeah.
I will pretty much buy anything this guy designs.
I think he's amazing. I
don't know who Ross Arnold is, but if he's a member of the partnership, Vladimir, I'm in.
He is the second best Czech game designer ever, in my view. And his games are always great, and he always designs these wonderful...
He's on a tear lately.
Yeah, meaty Euro games, and every one you play feels better than the other. I mean, I'm torn between Last Will and Messina being my favourite of his.
Ooh, that's rough. I can't believe you wouldn't go with Last Will. You love that game.
I love Last Will, but I really love
Speaking
Messina
of games
as
that
well.
are funny, that game is funny.
It is funny, and this is rare. Yeah, and I didn't put this on my list, partly because I knew you would put it on your list, and we should explore as many games as possible. But it's just a perfect. It's going to be a great, perfect Euro game.
So, are you planning to buy all the games that are on your list?
Probably not. No.
No. Okay.
But I'm interested.
I am.
Yeah, of course you are. All right. So my fifth is by an American designer, in combination with a German publisher, probably the king of indie publishing at this point, which is Spielworks.
Okay, yeah.
And, I'm slightly biased because I happen to know...
I don't think king is the title I would give him.
Anyway, and also the designer of this, Daniel Newman, has designed a number of games that I haven't played that look... So they all have sort of Halloween-y goth theming, which is always fun. Mm-hmm. And I'm dying to play his games, and this will be available at Essen, so I might buy this one. And this is London Necropolis Railway.
Yeah, right. I saw this one too. It looks great.
And this is as far as I know, this is a rail game, a pick up and deliver game with a sort of goth, sort of horror theming. You're delivering coffins and all of this sort of stuff. And Spielworks games, I think Spielworks games go from being good to great. I don't think everyone's a hit, but Uli is, canny enough to make sure that none of his games are crap. And I thought Squaring Circleville was great.
Like, how do you choose which games to buy? I mean, I think there are like three ways you can do it. You go with a designer that you like. That's usually a pretty good filter. You go with a publisher that you trust.
Exactly.
Right? A publisher that's good at curation. And you can go by like word of mouth recommendation.
Yeah, or just bloody blatant theme. Blatant theme. This seems appealing to me.
Yeah, I mean, I look at the box and I feel like the box was designed to catch my eye.
Well, exactly.
And usually if it's got like some farming theme, it has been.
Exactly. Yeah, so this seems really good fun. I like the idea I like that kind of notion of a sort of standard theme having a sort of slightly different twist put on it, whether that is thematically or mechanically. And so this appeals to me.
So I have a question. Is it going to be demoed at Essen?
I assume so.
Can we have Uli explain to us how to play it?
Yeah, because Uli is amazing at retaining all the rules in his head. He never gets them wrong.
I mean, if you had gotten to see like Mozart conducting one of his own symphonies or operas, 200 years ago, I think that Uli's explanations of how you play games is the equivalent of that kind of performance.
Tour de force.
Yeah. If you're going to Essen this year, visit the Spielworks booth.
Demand.
Yeah.
Uli explains the game to you.
Yeah, absolutely.
Nummer 4.
All right, Stevie, what's your number 4?
I like that I get to go first.
Yeah.
Although it's a little bit of pressure, too.
Well, it's no pressure. I mean, you're fucking great.
I don't know. Number 4. I sometimes say, because I want to appear to be cooler than I am, that I'm into the indie publishers.
Yeah.
Like the third wave coffee shop of board gaming.
Yeah.
And that's why I'm into Splatterspellen.
Yeah.
Also, I think Spielworks qualifies.
Certainly.
Who else is like indie publisher, would you say?
I don't know. Like,
Tony Boydell.
Delicious Games are definitely an
Delicious
indie publisher.
Games. Like Tony Boydell.
Yeah.
Independent publisher. Like, small houses that do like quirky games that they love, that they believe in, that are not simply like trying to capture a market share.
It's like the art house cinema of board gaming.
Yeah, exactly. And another one of these is German publisher, Iron Games. Bernd Eisenstein, former neighbor of mine. I once purchased a game from him, and he actually brought it to me, brought it to my apartment because we were neighbors.
So when he brought you the game,
Yep.
Did he stand at like the top of a set of steps, and you were at the bottom, and did he like put the game in like a pram, and then push the pram down the set of steps?
So, same name.
yeah.
But, yeah. Oh, also, I was neighbors with Jeffrey Allers.
That's right, no more. He lives in southern Germany now.
Yeah. I think it was Pandoria that
right.
they both designed.
They did.
Yeah.
They design games together quite a bit, I think.
Yeah, so I think Bernd designed this one. It's called Discordia.
Yeah.
And I did not get to play it at Berlin Brett Spielcon, but they were demoing it. Demoing it. You are the governor of a Roman outpost. Do I need to read more?
Well,
I said
some of that.
I said one word after Roman. Let me read the description of this game again.
Okay.
I'm only the important part.
Yeah.
Roman.
Okay.
So
Why are you such a nonce for the Romans?
I don't know. It's just cool.
Do you like the idea of sweaty men with grease on them?
Yeah. Who doesn't? So outpost. You are the governor of a Roman outpost protecting the border with Germany.
Yeah.
From. I didn't write anything beyond that.
Do you think Arminius figures in it?
No, I don't think so. Was Arminius German?
Yeah. So in Berlin, you have Hermannstraße like everywhere.
Oh, I thought he was. Never mind. I thought he was from like Belgium or whatever.
No, Arminius is Hermann. That's why Hermannplatz, Hermannstraße everywhere.
Okay. I think I was thinking of Gambrinus.
Right. That's Czech beer.
Vercingetorix.
Exactly. Get a fix.
Boudica.
Vital statistics.
I wrote down ancient Roman spreadsheet.
Yeah.
Because that's what it looks like.
Right.
And I can't wait for an ancient Roman spreadsheet. You develop a city in this game.
Yeah.
But it looks like an ancient Roman spreadsheet.
Which, people complain about spreadsheet games. But games should be.
Excuse me, I never complain about that.
All right, so my fourth is my sort of weird pick. That's probably going to be crap. Because they usually are.
You often come up with like offbeat picks though that end up being awesome.
Yeah. So this one is a Chinese game, as far as I know, and this is called Heaven Here I Come.
Oh, this is new. I haven't heard of this one.
Yeah. So this is a game. It's a social deduction game, and basically the premise is that you're all at the gates of heaven, and there's only limited room. So it's a bit of a Jehovah's Witness game, and you've got to decide. Only 222,000 people get into heaven in Jehovah's Witness law or something.
That's it?
Something like that, yeah.
It's not very many.
So, so basically, you get given a roll card and you have to determine whether you're part of the elect or not, or something like that. And it just sounds, it's going to probably be a standard social deduction game or whatever, but the theme is potty enough that it seems absolutely fascinating, and I'm sure sort of heaven is a Christian concept, so I'm sure a sort of East Asian perspective on a.
I thought it was a place on Earth.
Well, that's true if you speak to Belinda Carlisle.
How did
that's
you
one
find
for the kids, isn't it?
how did you find out about this game?
Well, I didn't mention this on the Tabletop Together tool, which is how we find our games pretty much.
Yeah, I skip so many. Like I look at them so quickly before I like click, ignore.
Because there's 1,000 of them.
Yeah, how did this one stand out to you?
Because Heaven Here I Come, I'm a bit obsessed with religion, and I think an East Asian sort of take on a Western concept, I think is going to be fascinating, and so it's going to be very interesting.
Looking forward to it.
Nummer 3.
All right. The number before my favourite number, Steve. Number 3.
Oh man, it's getting really difficult to know like what should be 3, what should be 2, what should be 1, even though I decided beforehand.
Right.
For number 3, I think I'm going to go with the new game from the single greatest board game designer in the history of board game designing.
Ben Maddox.
Have you designed a game?
Yeah.
What's it called?
It's called Kick Steve in the Balls.
How do you play it?
You kick Steve in the balls.
Where do I buy it?
I'll show it you after we finish recording.
Okay, great.
I've only got a prototype with me.
So this is actually a kind of reskin of an older game.
Okay.
This is Skymines.
Okay, yes.
Formerly known as Mombasa. And this is by Alexander Pfister.
Yeah.
With Victor Kobilka?
That's a good pronunciation. Yeah, let's go for that.
Kobilka.
Kobilka, yeah, let's go for that.
Yeah. So let's call it Mombasa on the moon.
Yeah.
Mombasa.
Moonbasa, as people have christened it.
Moonbasa,
Yeah,
the half people.
that's what people have christened it.
That's really good.
Moonbasa.
That's really good. Man, the internet's great, you know? The lulls.
The lulls. Top lulls.
Yeah, I always enjoyed Mombasa. I know that some people have a problem with the theme. I think it's a very clever hand management game in the way that you do actions and the different tracks that you're trying to go up. It does have the sort of colonization theme. But I'm looking forward to seeing how it works on the moon, which will probably be exactly the same way, except it's on the moon.
Yeah.
So I think it's inevitable that you're going to want to say something about Alexander Pfister. So I want to now make some space for you.
Well, no, the thing is, right, so he is like an author, and I'm trying to think of an author offhand, but an author that's a very serious writer, that when you're reading them, you're like, oh, this is pretty good. And then you put the book down, and you never want to go back to the book again, because it's just a bit of a grind. And I find Pfister's games, now, his
Maracaibo.
No, I mean, Boone Lake I enjoyed a lot, but I don't feel like going back to it either. I mean, Broom Service is wonderful, Isle of Skye is good, and...
Oh My Goods.
Oh My Goods was really good.
We've got to play Great Western Trail.
Got to play Great Western Trail. No, I don't... My criticism of Alexander Pfister is always the same. I don't think he designs massively heavy games necessarily. I just think they feel 80% done. And so they don't have the refinement that an Uwe Rosenberg game has. And so the weight comes out of... The sort of brain fry comes out of the fact that the game feels unfinished. So it's a bit rough and a bit ready.
I still think you need to play a few more before you can rest comfortably in this opinion.
I've never played Mombasa, and everyone says it's his best game, and it's really beautifully tightly designed.
Do people say that?
They do, and they say it's beautifully and tightly designed.
I thought people say Great Western Trail.
Great Western Trail is also very popular.
Yeah.
So I'd be interested to try Mombasa. It strikes me, Skymines. It strikes me as a game that is probably a tight design from him. And I think, if you could get a game from him, because I think his ideas are great, and if you could get the game refined and tight, I think he would be a wonderful designer. I don't love him, but I'm always willing to try.
Well, don't worry, I'm definitely going to buy this one, because it's Skymines and not Sky Yours.
So, on that quality gag, I am going to go with the doyen of British game design. He's got a solo game, and I like a solo game occasionally. Mm-hmm. And this one...
Nemo's War is a solo game, right?
Nemo's War's wonderful.
They're coming out with this Nemo's War Ultimate Edition that's going to be up to 4 players.
Yeah, not interested, really.
No?
I have Nemo's War, and I
never got to play it.
Well, it's a solo thing. Yeah, I could lend you my copy of Nemo's War.
Get the 4-player version, though.
I don't want to play it 4 players. I want to play it solo.
Why?
Sometimes I just want something for myself.
Share.
Do you have to have everything?
Yep. Yes, I do.
Anyway.
I am American.
This is very true. So, and I've seen because I follow Tony's blog on BGG, and I've seen the development of this game, and I loved Lux Eterna. I demoed the prototype at Lyricon of his zombie game, which is the 3rd one in his solo trilogy.
That was good. I like that.
Yeah, it's great. And this is Aleph Null, and you're summoning a demon. And I think, again, as we go back to this sort of gentrification of the arts and everything's very safe and very, very lace doily and quite dull, I like the idea of having a game that's just, I mean, fucking hell, it's all bullshit, right? Mm-hmm. It shouldn't be contentious in the way that elves shouldn't be contentious, right? But we've all got to go along and respect people's religions, even though it's a load of old shit. And so, summoning a demon, fuck off. It's all a load of bollocks. Demons don't fucking exist. But this is going to be, I think...
Some people think they do, though.
Yes, I know they do. And I think this is going to be solid. I think it's going to be fun. I think it's going to be interesting. And what's great about...
Some people think the invisible hand of capitalism exists.
That's very true. Adam Smith has got a lot to answer for. And I think that Tony's solo games are always really tight, quick in, quick out. Nemo's War is a sort of 3-hour experience.
It's like dating.
Which is, well, indeed. Nemo's War is Nemo's War is a long experience, but this one is Tony's solo games are short, satisfying experiences, and I think Aleph Null, it looks beautiful.
So I didn't get to try this one. So you're summoning a demon?
Yeah, I mean, I've not played it, so I don't know.
You didn't play it, okay.
No. But I will get it because he does these wonderful little, really compact, brilliantly designed solo experience. I think Tony is a wonderful He's a wonderful designer. I think Tony is very well regarded. I just don't think he is up there with the biggest names. And I think partly is that game design has always remained for him a hobby rather than a profession. And so he has taken, and I can totally understand it, the route of a solid, dependable, full-time job, and he's done game design as a hobby, and which means he just doesn't have that output of these top designers. But I think he's as good as anyone out there.
He's really nice to play games with too, and really good about explaining them. So he explained the zombie game to me, and he just like sat with me the whole time while I was playing it, and that really helped me like get a feel for it and what a good decision would be, what a good decision wouldn't be. And it was it was just like terrific actually having like the dialogue with the creator.
Try bloody playing Agricola with him. He's fucking brutal.
I want to give it a try.
Nummer 2.
All right, my favorite number, Stevie. Number 2.
Oh, this is the most painful one because I had a set of 5 and I made a last minute change out.
Yeah.
And I don't know.
Oh. You got to stick with it now.
I don't know if it should be number 2 or number 1.
Oh, well, you got to go. You got to go.
All right, so number 2.
I know the future of the game design industry hinges on this decision, but...
Number 2 is a game that I have played, that I did play at LaRiaCon.
Yeah.
And it wasn't in the Tabletop Together tool the last time I checked. It is there now.
Oh, exciting.
Yeah, so this is the newest game from my friend and yours, Mac Gertz.
Yeah, but it's changed its name, isn't it?
It's changed its name.
Changed its name.
It was supposed to be Transatlantic 2.
And now it's called...
Crossing Oceans.
It's not as good a name, is it?
I don't think it's a very good name.
I don't think it's as good a name.
It's very generic. I don't know why they changed the name.
Great game, though.
Somebody thought in marketing that this would be more appealing. I mean, he's got Anti-K and Anti-K 2.
Yeah.
Why can't he have Transatlantic 2?
Exactly.
Maybe someday we're going to get a Concordia 2.
Well, exactly.
So anyway...
And 2's the greatest number because it means shit.
This is a game that's got, like... You want to talk about, like, tight mechanics. Mac Gertz knows how to design a game.
He's a real craftsman, Matt Gertz.
Craftsman is the perfect word.
He's a real fucking craftsman. His games are always beautifully honed. He is the sort of anti-Pfister in many ways.
I'm going to give you my anti-Pfister. It's got a rondel. It's got the beautiful, like, Age of Exploration map.
Yeah. You end up with coal ships and that.
Yes. I played this with you and Tony Boydell.
And what's his face? Kartik.
Yes, and I won.
I'm sure you did. Where did I come?
Let's not talk about it.
But yeah, wonderful. And it's a really good game, and I just think the new title's a bit crappy.
Mac was impressed with my performance, I have to say. I'm looking forward to meeting him again, although I don't think he's going to be at Essen.
Yeah, he ghosted me. Anyway, so my second one, if we're talking about titans of the board game industry, especially titans of the German board game industry, who do you think's like the biggest German board game designer? Apart from Klaus Teuber.
Apart from Klaus Teuber, Rainer Knizia.
Apart from Rainer Knizia.
Uwe Rosenberg.
Uwe Rosenberg.
He's got 2 this year.
Yeah, I mean, he often has many games, but this is... So you always have to look for his big box Lookout Spieler game, right? That's where you get the classic
This one I bet you're going to buy.
Oh, definitely I'm buying it, yeah. Because I'm always hopefully going to review it for the magazine as well. And this is... I'm looking at my list because I can't remember the name. Atiwa. I don't know if that's pronounced correctly. But it's got a fruit bat on the cover.
Okay, so he's moving away from the sort of like traditional...
German farming.
To
exactly. Ghanaian farming, Steve.
Okay.
Farming in Ghana.
It's still farming, thank God.
Yeah, and I don't know anything about it. Tony has played this.
How?
Because he's friends with Hanno over at Lookout Spieler.
Oh, nice.
So he's played the prototype of it. People in his game group have played the prototype, so if we lived in England, we could have played it. I mean, Tony's a complete Uwe fanboy anyway. I mean, Uwe could do a number 2 in the box, and Tony would say it's like you with fucking Splotterspellen. You know what I mean?
Splotterspellen?
If they like...
I think it's Splotterspellen. Ben.
I don't speak Dutch, do I?
Splotterspellen.
So if they wee-weed in a glass and poured it over your edge, you'd go, that was the greatest experience
They're not going to be at Essen this year.
They're not going to be at Essen.
If only they would set up a booth and pee in a glass, I would buy it.
Yeah.
I would buy it.
75 quid. Yoink. Anyway, so yeah, it's a big box Uwe Rosenberg game from Lookout Spieler. It's going to be great. You bought the last one, which was great.
Hallertau?
Yeah. And this one's going to be fantastic. And, you are not going to fucking dampen my enthusiasm for buying this game by going, well, I'm going to buy it.
Well, I wasn't going to buy it.
Yeah, so I'm going to buy it.
I was going to dampen your enthusiasm for War of the Rings, the card game.
Well, you can't anyway, because I would buy that, even if you bought 20 copies and said, I'm going to give you one. I'd just buy it anyway.
What if I arranged with the publisher that I buy all the copies? Like, how many are you bringing to Essen? We're bringing 1,000 copies. I want all of them. But wait a minute. You can't have all of them because, like, then the people who are coming, like, people should have a chance to get it. It can't just be about you and what you want.
We just received an email from this guy called Ben Maddox who just said, "Can you please save me a copy?"
I'll give you 2x the retail price for all of them.
And then I walk up and they say, "Oh, well, we don't have any copies." You're Ben Maddox? Yeah. Don't have any copy of games, though. We have this, though. It's just a note going, fuck you. Yeah, so Atiwa, I don't know anything about it more than it's a big box.
Yeah, but do you? This is what we're talking about. Publisher, designer, and even word of mouth in this case.
And artist in this case. It's Clemens Franz art. It is the classic. It is when I think of German Eurogames, this is the combination.
So is this the game of Essen for you, even though it's not your number one?
No, it's not, but it is I think the most Essen game, if you see what I mean.
Yeah.
It is the quintessence of what a German Eurogame is. Uwe Rosenberg, Lukas Spieler, and Clemens Franz. This is what a German Eurogame is. And
hey Ben, can't spell quintessence without Essen.
Und jetzt Nummer 1.
All right.
I mean, I guess you can.
So, I mean, I don't know. I don't spell. Anyway, so what's your number one? The number one on the list.
Number one. Okay, so this came out of nowhere for me.
Yeah.
I think, again, flipping through Tabletop Together tool, or maybe I saw it somewhere else on Board Game Geek. I don't remember. How do I find out about games? It's completely random.
Yeah.
It's completely aleatory.
Right.
But this one...
A layer actor est.
It's going to be... We're going to play it once and think it's clever, but too complicated and never want to play it again.
Oh, yes, I know what you're talking about.
Or we're going to think it's groundbreaking.
I'm going to fucking hate it because my brain don't work in this way.
I actually think it's quite a risk. The odds that it's, in our opinion, like groundbreaking, very unlikely, because it's very unlikely for any game.
Right.
But there's enough of a chance that there's something new here, something really creative and something very much up my alley, that it just like shot to the top of my long list of 5 games.
That must be uncomfortable.
What's that?
Having a game up your alley.
So this is a game, I don't even know the designers. I guess they're French, Fabien Glidel and Joan Leve.
I mean, great pronunciation there.
I mean, why don't you give it a try?
I'm not going to.
Okay, so this is Turing Machine.
Yeah.
And a Turing Machine is a computer that can solve any problem.
Turing
that can
complete, isn't it?
Yeah.
It can solve anything that's calculable.
Yeah, I told you that once before, didn't I?
Yeah, on the binned episode of this that we did.
That nobody will ever see.
That no one will ever see.
Yeah, anything that's calculable can be calculated in principle by anything that is Turing complete.
Magic the Gathering.
Anyway, I think this is meant to harken back to the days of early computing when you had to program machines using punch cards.
Yeah.
And apparently there are 7 million problems to solve in this game, and it's like a puzzle game, and you actually have the punch cards. And I think what we were talking about in the binned episode is like how people can actually come up with something like this and then get it all to work.
Mind-blowing, right? It's and what we spoke about was this concept. The reason I fell so hard...
You need a computer just to be able to design the game that's about computers.
I consider myself a writer, right? So mostly when I read people's stuff, whether it be plays, poems, or novels, I can conceive of how they came up with it. I might think, wow, that's an incredible sentence, but I get it. It's very rare. Mm-hmm. Like when I read Gerard Manley Hopkins, I think, how the fuck did you do that? You know what I mean?
Sprung verse.
Sprung rhythm.
Yeah, sprung rhythm.
When I read Shakespeare, I think, how the fuck did you do that, right? When I got into board games, the one thing that I think really drew me in about board games was this idea of how'd you do this? How'd you come up with this? How did you just make these sort of disparate... I think what's so wonderful about board games is this disparate sort of mechanics are really just intellectual concepts. Mm-hmm. Essentially, that's all they are. All the components do on a board is track where the intellectual concepts are. Games actually live in the mind. And to be able to put them together is just simply, to me, astonishing. It's an astonishing thing. And it becomes, when you get into something, it becomes less and less of a factor because you become inured to it to some degree. But Turing Machine is something that I look at and go, how the fuck do you do that?
I think this is the kind of game that probably couldn't have been designed 20 years ago. Like, you actually need some kind of an algorithm to figure it out for you. Like, you couldn't sit there and manually do it. But I actually have no idea. It would be interesting to meet the designers, actually, and ask them about it. Really looking forward to it. If it works out, it will definitely be something new in gaming that we haven't seen. I think it's very novel mechanistically, as far as I can tell, not having played it and only seen like some photographs. Turing Machine.
So my number one is, we just spoke about it a lot and had an extended riff about you flexing your capitalistic muscles.
I'm going to buy every copy.
To deny me. But I love fucking War of the Ring. I love it. We've done 2 battle reports on it. And
so far.
Battle report-wise, we're 50-50 on the wins and losses. It is... I just watched Fellowship of the Ring today.
Did you?
I did.
How'd you have time for that?
Well, I finished my tech rehearsal early.
Yeah.
And I started watching it last night. So I'd watched about an hour last night. So I got home and watched the rest of it after my tech rehearsal.
It's a bit random.
I'm just in the mood for it.
The director's cut?
No, because I just watched the Prime Video version. And you have to pay a tenner to watch the extended version. So I just watched the cinema cut. And I love Lord of the Rings. Lord of the Rings is the thing when my brain is unquieted. I go to Lord of the Rings and it calms me down. This is why I think a lot of people are annoyed with the new Rings of Power series, that it's introducing modern day concepts into Tolkien.
A lot of people are annoyed with it, yeah.
Yeah, because part of...
Are you annoyed with it?
I mean, no, I'm not annoyed, because that sort of shit doesn't annoy me. I don't feel betrayed by fucking television adaptations of books I love, right? But I understand that people don't want their refuges of peace and calm to be disrupted by the shit you see on fucking Twitter every day. I get it. And since we recorded the video that we're never going to publish, and this podcast, I read the designer diary of the guy who designed this. So it's not the War of the Ring designers, it's another designer. A guy who designed Quartermaster General. A game, by the way...
Oh, everyone talks about how great that is.
I detest it.
Really?
I played it 3 times and I hated it every time. But...
War of the Ring card game is a 2-player game?
Yes, but... I've also read a lot about people who've actually played it. So they say that War of the Ring is potentially a 4-player game.
Yeah, but...
With people on teams.
Yeah, but...
Which is a load of bollocks.
Yeah.
This, everyone says the team variant is the best way to play it.
Okay.
And so I love Lord of the Rings. It's my happy place. I love War of the Ring. I think War of the Ring has crept up, if anything, in my top 10 games.
So what is the MSRP of this game? Because it's bound to have a very high VFM.
Yeah, 50 quid, I think.
50 for a card game?
Yeah.
It's just a card game, though.
But it's like a big card game.
So it's got other bits besides cards.
I don't know, but it's...
Okay.
And...
It's a game.
It's a game. I don't mind paying 50 quid for it. And the idea, though, of a legitimate team game really fucking appeals, right? I think the Maddox rule...
Yeah, we don't play team games ever, do we?
The Maddox rule, I think, still holds. Maddox's law, that in a Euro game, the best player count is maximum player count -1.
This doesn't sound like a Euro game, though.
No. And usually most games subscribe to the Maddox law pretty well, I think. Maximum player count -1 is the ideal player count. With this, it feels like the maximum player count is the player count you should play it by, 4 players. And imagine, Steve, you're playing this and Marios is on your team.
He's never really, though.
No, he'll deliberately...
He's not going to enjoy this.
He'll deliberately scuttle you just for the trollish lols.
Yeah. So what other team games have we ever played?
I can't think of any.
I can't think of a single one. I mean, we play a co-op once in a while, but I can't think of a team game.
Yeah, and, well, because it's a really hard thing to do, it seems. And I think... From all that I've read and reading the designer diary, which is fascinating. I don't read a lot of designer diaries, but I'm really fascinated by this. And I love War of the Ring, and this is half the playtime of War of the Ring, which means...
This is Ares, right?
Yeah, it's the same publisher.
Yeah.
So it's potentially a game that we can play more, and it won't deliver... I don't think it will deliver quite the experience, but it'll deliver something approximating it. And couple that with the fact that it's a team game, and this seems to me a winner.
We seem like we're in some kind of renaissance, or as you would say, renaissance.
Yeah, renaissance, yeah.
Yeah, of like IP games, right?
Yeah.
So Lord of the Rings themed games, having nothing to do with the films and nothing to do with the...
Dune.
Yeah, again, Dune. There's a new Dune game coming out. Same company, right?
No.
Just the same designers.
Same designers, but it's Simon.
Right. Okay, yeah, you're right. Same designers, though, so it's basically going to be...
It's War of the Ring with Dune.
Who doesn't want that?
Me.
I want it. And they'll inevitably be the card game version. And why don't you want it?
Because I don't give a fuck about Dune, particularly.
Yeah, but
Dune ain't my happy place.
Yeah, but you'll play it.
Oh, sure, when you get it, I'll play it, sure.
You'll play it. Maybe I'll sell it at Essen next year.
Well, indeedy do. Yeah, and so... The minute I saw War of the Ring, the card game, because I love Arkham Horror, the card game.
I still haven't played that.
It's so good. It's downstairs in your cellar, actually.
We should play it in the cellar.
Whoa. On Halloween, All Hallows Eve. Yeah, so, and it's going to be wonderful, and yeah, it's great.
The wrap-up.
All right, so, just to wrap this up, Steve.
Yeah.
I think you should explain to people why, if they get the chance, they should go to Essen.
Oh man, really putting me on the spot. Okay. If you are enthusiastic about board games,
yes.
You feel that you are like immersed in this hobby, that it's actually part of your lifestyle.
Yeah.
You haven't really experienced the full brunt of what this hobby is and what it has to offer if you haven't been to Essen. You've only seen like the story, like the five blind philosophers and the elephant.
No.
Okay, there are five blind philosophers, and they're all trying to describe what is an elephant.
Yeah.
But each one of them is touching a different part of the elephant.
All right.
One of them says...
Big ass.
Yeah.
It's got great ass.
It's got, yeah. One of them's holding the tail, one of them's holding like the foot, one of them's holding the trunk, and they all have like a different explanation. No, it feels like long and smooth, and no, it's actually like quite thick and heavy, or whatever. You only have basically like a very small piece of this hobby to go on. If you go to Essen, you get the whole thing all at once in your face, and you can discover things that you didn't know existed. You can encounter designers, publishers, other gamers. You get to talk to people. You get to have one-on-one interaction basically with this hobby, like with the designers, with the publishers, with the players. You can meet all of the personalities that you've seen on YouTube if you want to. Makers, the people who actually make this stuff. This was the revelation to me when I got back into games like hardcore in Germany, because growing up I never really paid any attention to who designed these things. But there are actual people behind them, and you can meet those people and have like a different, more intimate encounter despite the lack of intimacy of the space that you're going to be in.
You can have sex with them.
In theory, you could.
Right.
If you
I've not had
if you play your cards right.
I've not had intimate encounters with game creators at Essen.
It's not what I was implying, Ben.
Sounds pretty sexy.
Just like, beers in a parking lot, basically.
I think there's one reason you should go to Essen. The one central reason, the only reason to go.
Why do I have to answer these questions first?
The one central reason you should go to Essen is that you get to meet Stephen J. Cyrek.
Danke für listening to unserer podcast. Steven und ich really hope you enjoyed it. And if you are in Essen this year, you can buy me a Schnitzel und Bier. Prost!